Yo! Alright, so today I'll be sharing my wish list for Marvel Rivals heroes I would love to see in the game. If you guys want a villain edition, you guys have to like and subscribe. But other than that, let's jump right into it. Just a quick disclaimer, this is my wish list and kind of my opinion. I will be imagining kind of how some of these characters would work out in the game. None of this is confirmed until they are announced by the Rivals team themselves. Now I'll start off with big name groups of superhero teams before I'll start with separate ones. Now I'll just let you guys know that I am a Marvel fan, but I do not read the comics. I haven't seen every movie. So let me know if I'm wrong about something. Now let's start off with the Guardians here, and we pretty much have half the Guardians in this game, but at the same time there's still some Guardians members missing, especially Drax and Gamora. I think the reason they did not release them is because the Rivals team have said that they want to prioritize unique heroes instead of making simple heroes, familiar heroes like Miles Morales and Spider-Man. But of course Miles Morales is his own hero, but I think you guys get my point. And Drax and Gamora is pretty much a part of Guardians, which is a very popular group because of the movie, but at the same time they are just two members with knives and daggers. So I kind of understand why they did not make them in game, but at the same time I think they should be prioritized since they are such big names, you know. So yeah, I think Drax is obviously going to be a tank, and if they're going to make a tank, they need to make him invisible while eating chips. That is a must, or at least make it an emote. For Gamora, I can imagine Gamora as a DPS. I can't imagine her as other roles, but of course we have seen Gambit being turned to a support, so anything can happen with it in this game. Now these are not only the two Guardians members that is not released in game, because Yondu is kind of Guardians member, and I think he should be a part of this game, definitely. I can imagine him as a DPS or as a support. Either one will probably do. I can pretty much imagine Yondu working like Crypto from Apex, where he will hide in the corner or hide somewhere and he can like control his arrow and do damage or something like that, you know. But yeah, I think Yondu would be a pretty underrated character to add to this roster. Next up we got Cosmo. We need another Jeff in the game, and it's no brainer that he could work as a support. I do not know how he can heal. I'm pretty sure he had some like telekinesis and force field or something, so maybe he can have a mechanic where he shields teammates or something. Next up we got the Nebula. I'm pretty confident she could work as a tank or a support. It depends on what route they would go with this character, but either will do. We have seen Nebula in the movies being taken part from part and rebuilding herself. She got a lot of mechanic parts on the body, so maybe it can be something like if she has a tank, the more damage she does, the more parts fall apart and she will walk slower, or some sort of debuff, you know. And maybe she can't die at all, pretty much how people imagine Deadpool, I guess. So yeah, instead of dying, she will just go 1 HP and just walk really slow, but like has some auto heal that you can slowly rebuild herself while in game. I have no clue how that would work, but either that or a support. But the last member of Guardians, I'm pretty unsure of if he's a Guardian member. I've heard something from the comics that he was a Guardians member, and that's Nova. Now Nova is he's pretty known to me through the Ultimate Spider-Man series. Nova would be a great DPS, I think. And I think even though he seems a little bit familiar to Captain Marvel, do not judge me, Marvel nerds, but I think Captain Marvel could work well as more of a tank, and Nova could be a DPS. Or maybe a support, who knows. I think Nova as a support could also work. But speaking of Captain Marvel, we're moving on to the Avengers now. And Captain Marvel, like I said, could be a tank. I've heard a lot of rumors that she will release soon. If the rumors are true, I do not know. But yeah, a flying tank again could be really great, but at the same time, I feel like the game needs more shield tanks rather than off tanks, so I really hope they make her like a solid tank for the team, you know? Next up, we got Ant-Man. Now, for Ant-Man, I imagine him being a tank too, maybe a little bit bigger than average. Of course, he needs to have these abilities where he becomes super huge and super small. I imagine his super small abilities have a real quick cooldown so he can stay small forever. It can be used for a really good escape ability or maybe sneak up on backlines maybe. I do not know. And for his ultimate, I can imagine him turning into this huge form, and it will kind of work like the Hella ult we already have in game, where she looks down or he will look down, but he can move while stomping on enemies basically. That's how I imagine he would work in Rivals if he were to be added. Next up, we got Wasp. Now, I can imagine Wasp as DPS or support. I think she will be most likely a support. But what I'm most curious about is because I watched this show Avengers.ART, and the Wasp was pretty much just small size this whole show. So I'm kind of curious to see if she will be small. Will her hitbox be smaller? Will it be difficult to hit her? Maybe they'll do something like Cloak and Dagger to Ant-Man and the Wasp. I have no clue. But yeah, I think either way, I think the Marvel team will do him justice. Next up, we got Falcon. Now for Falcon, I imagine him more as a comic accurate version rather than the MCU version. So yeah, I imagine him being a flying hero. Instead of guns, he would throw his wing blades, kinda. He doesn't have any guns in the comics or the cartoons, I think, but he throws his feathers with it, which is really sharp from his wings. And I imagine him as a tank, kind of like Angelo. He will have a flying mode and a ground mode, and I imagine him as a tank using his wings too to cover himself and allies. Now you can use this mode on both air and ground, but however, when the shield HP is down to 0, he can't use his wings for a while. I also imagine him while he's flying that enemies can shoot his wings and he will kind of fall down and won't be able to fly for a while too, kinda. So I think that would be make him a really unique hero in this game. And let's not forget about Red Wing, because I think Red Wing, we should have a comic accurate Red Wing, not a robot, but an actual bird that will give him information about the enemy. I imagine him being like kind of like a Valk from Apex, where she can just scan the area and positions of people. Maybe Falcon can have that ability, just that he just throws out Red Wing and he will scan the area. Of course, Red Wing can be shot down and can have a cooldown too. Maybe they should make a robot version of Red Wing, because maybe it could be a cooldown, so it would make sense for him being thrown out every like 15 seconds instead of a real bird getting shot. But yeah, I also imagine him having a team up with Captain America, where maybe he can hold his shield or use his shield for a short while. That would be really cool as well. Next up, we got Shang-Chi. Now, I'm not very familiar with this character other than the movie that came out. I can imagine him as a DPS or a tank. So yeah, like I said, I'm not very familiar to him, so let me know if he could work as a support. I don't know, just let me know. Next up is Nick Fury. Now, I do not think Nick Fury is a very popular character, but I think he would be really cool to have in the Rivals roster, and I can imagine him working as a support or a DPS in this game. How he will work, we'll have to see. I feel like this would be another Punisher or a Deadpool in the game, so the Rivals team has to get creative, but like I've said multiple times in this video so far, they'll does some way to make them creative. Now for next support in this game is Vision. I honestly just imagine him as a support that can walk, go through walls, and perhaps even heal through walls. Now what I'm most curious about if it will be the Vision with the Infinity Stone or without. But at the same time, I do not know anything about the without Infinity Stone Vision. Vision Quest is coming later this year, so maybe we'll learn about that. Maybe we'll get that version in the game too. We never know, but yeah, I can imagine Vision as a support that can heal through walls and walk through walls. So I think a support that can walk through walls would be really sick in this game. Other than that, I got two side characters here from different movies or different places in the world, and that's Shuri and Wong. Now I imagine these two also could work as a support. It would be really cool to see T'Challa's sister as a support. Maybe a team up between up. Same with Wong and Doctor Strange. Of course the movesets between Wong and Doctor Strange need to be different, but I don't know, I just see Wong as a cool sidekick for Doctor Strange in this game, you know? Now next up we got the X-Men in this game. Now, I haven't barely watched any X-Men media at all, so I won't say much about this, but I've seen Deadpool. That's the only thing I know. So I can imagine Colossus as a tank, of course. Deadpool voice lines in the game pretty much confirm that Colossus and Juggernaut could come soon. How soon, we don't know. But yeah, Cyclops, I can imagine him being a tank or a DPS, but I feel like he should have an ult like Iron Man where he can one-shot. Professor X, I've heard some rumors of him coming soon, so we'll see how that turns out. Maybe he'll be support, I do not know. Quicksilver, honestly, I did not know what role Quicksilver could be. But either way, the Rivals team will cook with this character. I'm pretty sure he will come soon. I've heard some rumors of him. The voice lines in this game also hints that Quicksilver could come soon. Now that's all hero team I have. Now moving on to other heroes, there's not many I have on this list. So the first one is the Silver Surfer. I can imagine Silver Surfer working as a tank where he has his surfboard absorbing projectiles. Luke Cage, Power Man. Honestly, I can imagine Luke Cage be a tank that has 250 HP. However, he is immune to all projectiles in the game, and the only way to deal damage to him is by doing melee attacks to him. I think that could be a really cool character in this game, honestly. For DPS, I can see Black Bolt as DPS. I barely knew about Black Bolt until the Doctor Strange movie, honestly. Now for the last, we got a support, and I feel like this support could compete with Jetpack Cat or whatever they added to Overwatch, and that's Goose. Now he could work as support or a DPS, I do not know, but either way they need to add Goose to this game. Now for last, I got heroes that I want to see in this game, but most likely won't. First of all, I got the Spider-Verse people. Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Spider 2099. I think out of these three, Miles Morales might be the most likely to come, but I do not think he will be prioritized considering we have already a Spider-Man in game, but I would still love to see all these three in game. Another variant I would love to see, a variant I would love to see in this game is War Machine. He's kind of familiar to Iron Man, so I think he won't be prioritized. I've seen some concepts where he's a tank. I can probably get around that. Definitely, he should maybe be a tank. Maybe won't be flying as high as Iron Man. And for last playable character I would see in this game is a Hulkbuster. I think Hulkbuster will be a skin, but however, it would be really sick if it could be a playable tank in this game. If it's Tony Stark or Bruce Banner, I do not know. Maybe someone else, considering we already have a Tony Stark and a Bruce Banner in game. But yeah, a playable Hulkbuster would be real sick. If we get this as a skin, I won't mind it at all, to be honest. But yeah, that's all heroes I have for the game. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like I said, if you guys want a part 2 with villains, let me know in the comments. But other than that, Have a nice day.